Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. So happy to welcome Marlon Miller from JPV Press. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Susie.
JPV, well, let's start there. What is JPV? Is that a person? Who is that? What is that?
No, JPV stands for Just Plain Values, and that is a magazine that we began about 6 years ago, and we reach about 40,000 Amish homes across the nation every month.
6 years ago, you had a dream to do this. What was that dream to get into homes? And 40,000, that's impressive in 6 years.
Well, it all began with our daughter. She just turned 9, and she has Down syndrome. And when we adopted her, my prayer began to be, Lord, you brought us these children, so now you have to pay for them. And so I guess the magazine is the fruit of that prayer from a client making a comment, and then a couple ideas sprang to life, and here we are.
You know, in just a couple of sentences, you have raised all kinds of amazing questions popping through my head. Let's go back to your daughter. Mm-hmm. There are people who are opposed to the pro-life movement always bring up that every child should be wanted, and then they are also saying it is so difficult to find a home for someone born with any kind of some kind of a disability. And a child with Down syndrome won't find a home. There will not be a home for her. You not only had a baby and said, we want this baby, you intentionally went out and adopted not one baby with Down syndrome. You're telling me more than...
Yeah. We actually have, our oldest son is autistic, and then we have 3 others. The 3 younger all have Down syndrome.
So you have 4 children, each with some kind of a condition that requires some special attention, a little extra dose of love.
Right.
And on purpose.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about that, and then we'll get to your magazine and your company and everything. Tell me about your home life, and what was it that God said inside your very soul to do this and make a home and make a family?
Well, I had an aunt with Down syndrome, and she has long since passed, but my dad had, from early on, had always instilled a love for people with special needs, and he would have a $5 bill in his pocket, and if he would see when he saw that kid, excuse me,
it's okay.
He would cross the room for sure, and then he always made a friend.
I don't know a family that has a child with Down syndrome or autism or some kind of a special need that doesn't feel completely blessed by having that child be a member of that family. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can. My dad always said, and I've said it many, many times, that having a child with Down syndrome or many special needs, actually, many folks tend to think that it takes a special family, and I would argue that it actually makes a special family. So,
oh, say that one more time. That's so good. I want that to sink into everybody.
Having a child with Down syndrome, especially, the innocence, the joy, the purity, it does not take a special family. It actually makes a special family.
That is so good. Well, tell me about your kids. Tell who are they? What do they like to do? And what's fun about them?
We have a pretty hectic household, and my wife is an amazing lady.
Did you adopt your children as babies? Did you know them a little bit older? It's just got to be so rewarding to see your children thriving.
It is.
Well, I suppose we should talk about the magazine at some point. Just Plain Values. You also have a heart to reach homes of Amish and talk about values. What was the Just Plain Values? What are these values?
Well, the idea behind the magazine was with our family living in the special needs world and in the adoption world. When we had the idea for the magazine, there was a moment after we had done a test run and seen that it was going to hold water, that the idea was going to hold water. I didn't hear a voice or anything like that, but I remember the Lord saying, I'm going to give you a voice. What are you going to do with it? And so, and you can edit all that out, right? A lot of that. the idea that Lisa and I had was to provide almost a stepping stone of information to the Amish market across the nation that doesn't have an iPhone in their pocket. You and I take it for granted today that anytime, anywhere, any place, about anything, we can get information at the drop of a hat. They can't do that. And so we try to be that stepping stone for them who have some resources and can pray and can, in some instances, go and actually help on the mission field. We try to educate them about kingdom work that's being done, things that they would not easily learn about in other ways. And it has been a real joy to watch the Lord use it.
I'm going to say some words now because I don't know what I'm talking about. So please correct me, and I'm really not wanting to be offensive. I just don't know enough.
Sure.
I know that the Amish step away from anything that would be governmental. So do they use U.S. mail? How do you get your magazine into their homes?
Right.
And I apologize for how uneducated that question sounded.
That's completely fine. They do very much use the mail. That's how they get a lot of things back and forth. Mail order business is done all the time, and as time goes on,
as far as being able to get the magazine into their homes, then they do use the mail.
Right.
And is that what made magazine click deep within you, that you thought, okay, a magazine would do it. We'd be able to share some important things to this community.
That's right.
I'm surprised that there's 40,000.
We don't have them all. At this point, we don't have them all, I'm sure. We would estimate our overall readership to be between 250 to 300,000.
Ages
folks.
what?
The entire spectrum.
And so what would be the geographical location that you're reaching?
Well, the largest population is here in Ohio. Pennsylvania is right on Ohio's heels, and then you have Indiana as the third largest. And then there's many settlements out across the nation.
What kinds of information do you hope to get to them? Encouragement? Gospel? What kinds of things did you believe needed to be said?
Oftentimes we'll do stories about families that adopt or different organizations that are doing kingdom work across the globe.
Is adoption popular in the Amish community?
It is becoming more so, yes. It's actually exciting.
And are they adopting from where? From other Amish people, or from babies that just need a home and they said, we'll give you a home?
Right. Yeah. It's not, they generally cannot go overseas, so that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, the domestic adoption is a big possibility for an Amish family.
I'm thinking, what an interesting life for a child to finally then find themselves in an Amish family working on a farm, basically living a not your typical 21st century life. Has it seemed to be successful, or is this still rather new?
In terms of adoption?
Right. Successful on the ways of like the young people. Do they stay in the community? What do we know yet? Is it still rather new?
As far as I know, it's gone very well.
Wow.
Yeah, the children seem to adapt well, from what I've heard.
How interesting. All right, this is just brand new information for me. Just so interesting. So JPV Press started with his magazine, and then you've branched out into books and all kinds of things. Tell me a little about your journey. Let's talk about that.
Sure. The magazine was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and we had noticed that there was a slot or a market for well done reading material for the Amish. Common sense says that they don't have TV, they tend to read a lot, and they want high quality material just as much as you and I do. And with our heart for ministry, we chose to set up our publishing company on the book side for pretty decent royalty rates to be able to keep those missionaries and the folks doing any kingdom work to actually turn a royalty into a form of funding for that ministry. So that's our goal with JPV Press.
You have just perked up so many ears right now when you said pretty decent royalty rates. So many people know they've got a great story to tell. They believe they know they've been gifted. They've got a God-given gift for writing, and feel that there's no way to get it out there other than self-publishing or some of these other things to do. So you're saying not so fast. We might want to take a look at you.
Well, the one thing that separates us from a lot of the other, much larger publishing houses is that we don't require an author to have an agent.
That's very different.
It is. They can speak with us directly. They don't have to go through an agent.
What kinds of things are you looking for? First of all, are you looking for new authors?
Right now, we aren't.
You've got a full stable.
We have been, very, very blessed with great authors that are just simply a real joy to work with, and they're good at what they do. They have great stories, and the team on the production side does a fabulous job, the editing side, and so I believe most of our 2019 is pretty well full.
Well, that's good to hear. Congratulations.
It is. Well, thank you.
I'm looking at the clock. We do need to take a short break, but we're going to be back with Marlon Miller from JPV Press after these words. You're listening to Our Community.